Hello, today we're going to be talking about food deserts. Now, if you don't know, a food desert is a location that does not have access to fresh produce and or is in very close proximity to a fast food restaurant, but no grocery store. An example of this is in North Minneapolis in Minnesota. There is an organization, Appetite for Change, that is trying to raise awareness of the worst food desert in America, which it happens to be North Minneapolis. A section of northern Minneapolis being in a 2-mile radius, there's 38 fast food restaurants and not a single sit-down restaurant. Obviously, this isn't the healthiest living situation, and I like to cook every now and then, so I'm going to try and talk about ways that you can still be healthy in a food desert. My tip number one, I guess, would be just understand food nutrition labels. Normally in a food desert, there isn't a real grocery store. It's usually like a bodega or a corner store or whatever it's called in your particular region. These places aren't really well known for selling fresh greens or anything healthy, but there is a way to keep yourself relatively sound in health. A good rule of thumb is not to buy foods that have 600 plus milligrams of sodium per serving, as the American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 milligrams sodium per day. That means no more eating an entire bag of Takis or hot Cheetos or anything like that. We know that stuff is bad for us, but we eat it anyways because it tastes good. So you just can't help it. You can at least calculate for the fact that if you are going to try and keep that sodium low, you can go ahead and calculate out half the bag. Like if you just happen to eat out half the bag. A normal serving of Takis is 13 pieces, and that one serving, there is 420 milligrams of sodium. For the whole bag, there's roughly 9 servings, meaning roughly 117 Taki straws. Now, if you eat half the bag, that's 1890 milligrams of sodium, which is still under the recommended limit, just to account for the fact later that you did just eat almost all your sodium for the day and one little snack, so you should probably not have any more sodium for the rest of the day. A way to make this easy is track it with something like MyFitnessPal in your app store. It makes life mad easy for tracking your own health, and I use a lot when I'm trying to look a little nice. My number 2 tip is start your own garden. It's way easier said than done, especially if you're chilling literally in somewhere like Minnesota in the dead of winter. But there are tiny greenhouses you can grab on Amazon for less than $50 for when the growing season does start. And when it does, plant in bulk. Whatever you don't use, you can freeze. It doesn't lose much nutritional value from being frozen, and it's still better than no fruit at all. Grow the veggies and fruits that don't take half a year. Do something like growing your own broccoli, which takes 45 to 60 days to fully grow and be ready. And again, do it in bulk. There's no sense in waiting 2 months for a single head of broccoli. Another option for gardening is at a community garden, which gives you a bigger space. The only downside to this is that there's other people, so you can't just grow a whole supermarket worth of stuff for yourself with all that space. Number 3 would just to be look for sales and discounts. Assuming you're one of the lucky few in a food desert who actually has a decently stocked grocery store near you, look for those deals on frozen meals. A lot of them are still decently healthy. Just make sure you're actually not breaking the bank. And if you follow tip number 1, you should be able to read the label and decide if it's actually good for your body or not. Look for low sodium, decent protein. Depends on the product, to be honest. If you're looking for broccoli, it's not really going to have a lot of protein. If you're vegan, it's a lot harder to live in a food desert, but just look for what works for you and isn't going to destroy your body. Right here, I'm going to be making just a quick little healthy breakfast. I mean, healthy enough. It still has cheese and milk in it, so if you're lactose intolerant, you probably shouldn't make this. But at the moment, you'll want to, before you do anything, turn your broiler on. Your first step is to get 4 whole eggs into a bowl and then add a half cup of milk and then whip them together with a fork or whisker. Just however you like to get everything nice and mixed, and just whip it until it's a nice consistent yellow. Right here, I'm just adding my eggs to a preheated cast iron pan, and I just add a little bit of oil, nothing too crazy. And you'll hear a sizzle, but you kind of don't really want too high of a sizzle because that can indicate it's way too hot. And then there's more of a chance that your eggs will stick, especially if you have a non-stick pan. Once your omelet is about halfway cooked, you want to add your ham, cheese, onion, whatever toppings you really like in an omelet, and then toss it in the broiler, which will finish cooking off, and it'll melt the cheese at the exact same time. And then once it comes out of the broiler, this is generally what it should look like. I prefer a little bit more browning, so I should have put it in for like, I don't know, probably 30 seconds longer, but this is pretty good. And this is my omelet when it was done. My omelet broke in the pan, which I was a little upset about. And I didn't really feel like remaking it and spending more egg ingredients, but it's fine. Because it still tasted fine. It tastes like an omelet.